This is Leisha Holmes, and I'm your host on the Recruiters Recruitment podcast brought to you by Hoxstone Media. And I felt really honoured when this guest today actually approached me via LinkedIn, and we follow each other's content and have done avidly for some time, because he felt that he had a really important, compelling story to share with you, our audience. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you all today Ian Moyse, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at OneUp Sales, and he's also a blogger and social media influencer. Welcome to you today, Ian. How are you?
Hi, Alicia. I'm good, and good to talk about this subject, because I've been, as you may mention, I've been through the recruitment process recently, and also I've been on the hiring side many a time, as I am sat in the seat doing that, finishing off some hiring right now.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important because to date, we've had a number, I think we're in up to about 60 odd guests on our podcast, which is an absolute joy to say. We've not really talked about the aspect of coming at it from a job seeker's point of view. And given that you, our listener, you're probably listening to this as a recruiter, an active recruiter or a hiring leader, we felt it was really important to sort of share the mindset of what a job seeker goes through. So you've recently experienced this, and how was that? How did it feel? What was the perception of you internally, but also the reception you were getting from recruiters and from hiring leaders?
Sure. So I talked to a number of people in these positions. Right? I've had several of my prior salespeople decide to leave their position and go on the market without another job to go to. And I've coached them and worked with them and discussed it. So it's not just my opinion. I've got fairly good context from recent months of other individuals. And I think everyone right now thinks, well, it's worse than COVID and all the rest, right? But the fundamental is the same. You're looking to get a job. You're looking to match up with something where they need skills and expertise that you can bring to it. But I've continually had, through my career in this period, in that sort of process, had some frustration. So let me tell you what I saw recently, right? That you don't always know from the candidate side, or you don't know how to deal with. One is, how do I know that I'm getting visibility in the way I want? And what I mean by that is, I became aware, certainly more aware this time, of you submit a CV. Is a human actually looking at that and giving you the time? You've spent the time to write it, and we'll come on maybe to talk about the polish side, what you can do and how I try and stand out, make things different. But you've taken the time to put this together and make the effort to apply. A couple of things. One frustration as a candidate is the number of forms that you have to go through to apply. And I get for every individual, it's, well, we want to put you through these gates.
Yes.
But if you're a candidate applying to 10 or 20 or whatever jobs because you need a role, it gets very frustrating coming onto a particularly corporation's website where you'll get link your LinkedIn profile or upload your CV, and it will fill it all in for you.
Right.
And do you know what? It doesn't fill it in for you. And let's be blunt, because I spoke to, as I say, my other colleagues and stuff going through the same process, and we had that chat of, oh my God, you don't. So it wasn't an agenda. It's just a mate's chat of we're all having the same problem, because we're trying to figure out, is it my CV causing this, where it pre-fills it in for you, and then you have to basically go through and rekey it all anyway because it's taken the wrong things. So it's great if it worked, but typically for the candidate it doesn't. It's almost like the people who've put these in place haven't tested it with some CVs and seen the experience of the candidate who may be a valuable asset to their business in the future. The first experience is, oh my God, I've now got to spend 45 minutes correcting all the things in the boxes that it puts stuff in to make my application have any credence that it will be looked at. And you do, and it's great. Oh, it's only 45 minutes. Yeah, but not if you've applied for 5 in a day. You could easily spend you become a keyboard warrior, right? You've done all the work of putting it in your CV and on your LinkedIn and getting it all ready, and now you're rekeying again and again and again. The second frustration layer on that is the automation. Am I even getting seen?
Yes.
Because I spoke to some people, and I ran my CV through some online tests that I found that you could do, that basically said, we'll test your CV through the engines that many of the recruiters or corporates will test to show you what will come out. And I was shocked to find what it displayed would come out as the headline that it would analyze me on was well, that doesn't represent me well at all.
Right.
But it's all in the CV. How's it doing that? Is it looking for the most repeated word? Is it, and they use that to shortlist. So, I got into the position of, are the ones where I think I'm a slam dunk candidate for this. If I had the conversation with someone, I may not get the role, but I'm certainly going to be a valued candidate, where I didn't even get considered. And is it because some AI engine didn't do it the right way and didn't put me into the right bucket? And you never get a second conversation, right? You get an automated email maybe a month later. I'm afraid we've moved ahead without.
Yeah.
So, the difficulty for the candidate is, what do you do about that? If I knew what to do about it, I'd fix it. How do I get
intervention, isn't it?
Presented correctly.
Influence and those two major points you just talked about are why I really wanted to talk about this topic today, because we are at a very critical point as recruiters where we can use AI and technology to our advantage. But the reality of two things you've mentioned there, the parsing, which, I use it on my system, CV parsing, but I will still, as a human being, look at the CV, make sure everything's correct. No, I don't want their work email going on there, because I don't want to ever email them at work. It'll be their home email address. Well, that's not their mobile number, that's their office number. So that's where I agree with you. Is the user experience valid, and is it going to allow the right talent to be matched up? And then the second part, which is for me, and I appreciate that there are going to be some leaders listening where they're in high volume, there's high levels of numbers of people coming in for applications, but I agree with you that it's about behaviours, it's about skills, it's about experience. And I maintain that to make yourself, as a business, if you're investing a proportion of your revenue in marketing, branding, value proposition, that means nothing if you're not engaging with your future talent. And if the way you're engaging with them is through software that has these, I'm not an IT person, but it's not working, and your experience proves.
If it took my CV on my LinkedIn profile and got 99%, and a high percentage of it right, and I just had to check a couple of bits, fine. Yeah. But my experience is it doesn't. You might have well keyed it in yourself, and every time you do it that way because you're hoping when I get there, a lot of the work's done, and it just it's so frustrating.
So on that basis, then you've got a really important, I guess, moral obligation here, which is why you wanted to come on the show, to our listener, which is aspiring and existing leaders. So they're hiring for their own businesses. What would you do if you were in their shoes right now to make the experience for job seekers, even if, like you say, you don't get the job, but at least let me engage with you? What can they do to ensure their processes are better for engaging with people like yourself, regardless of what the job is?
Yeah, so I think a number of things, and I'm recruiting, or I've just completed a recruitment phase at the moment. So I give some examples that I've done. So, make sure that the job spec is appropriate to what you're looking for and not a corporate copied version. I've seen that many a time where it's lift the old version that we used last year and use one. And actually that one isn't then what you get questioned about. And I've been in that as a candidate where you're going through the process and, well, this doesn't seem to align to what the spec. There's loads of stuff now coming out that should have been in the spec that weren't, because you've used a template. You've basically been a bit lazy on the front end as to, rather than updating it and personalizing it, you just said, we'll use the one we used before. It's close, it's good enough. That'll get us candidates. It might it might shorten your candidate list, right? But it might mean the ones you do get are more quality and you don't have to go through so many.
But that's the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the more information you can give to the candidate, the better in terms of the reality. Why hide stuff back? If it puts them off, that's a good thing, because it qualifies them out of entering into the process and giving you more. I don't want 200 CVs. If I put a job spec up, I don't want 200. No. I'd rather have 10, but
of course you would.
They're pretty good spec, and 7 of them I want to look at, for example. Not give me 200 and I end up with 7 anyway, but I've just got more effort to get there. Help people to qualify themselves out, and engage with those people both before and after. I know it takes a bit of time, but for example, all of the individuals that I've had through the process where I've looked at the CV and their LinkedIn and just thought it just doesn't float the boat for me. For example, they've had too many short roles in a row. For example, there's something that doesn't fit where they're located abroad and we need someone fit. I know that all remote working now, but whatever it is, I've gone back to them when I've rejected them and told them that and said, look, if it helps you with any feedback, I noticed a few spelling mistakes in your CV. I noticed your CV and your LinkedIn don't correlate on the dates.
Yeah.
I've had numerous emails back from them saying, with thank you so much for responding and giving me some feedback. I appreciate that because I don't normally get that.
And you know what? They're never going to forget you for that, and they will go out their way. You know that. What did that take to do that email? 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds.
I've already spotted the errors, right? Because
you've done it. Just feed that back.
Yeah. Give them a bit of feedback, and a couple of them I pointed to. You might want to do this, or have a look at this podcast I did, or have a look at this CV tool I came across. It might help a bit. You know, if they want to ignore that's their prerogative. But I haven't had anyone take it negatively. Why wouldn't you do that? Give a bit of value back because you've just done it, and it's a human being you're dealing with. And right now, there are a lot of people in precarious positions.
Agreed.
Because of what's happened in the world that we all know of, right? So to me, it's give a bit of value back. It doesn't take long.
It is, and you know what? You might be that sliding door moment. You don't know you are, but you might be for that person to go, right, well, that clearly wasn't right, but I'm going to go and do that. I must get in a week, I don't know, 12, 20 messages on LinkedIn from non-recruiters who will say, you know, maybe they've come across my profile, they can see that I'm in recruitment. They don't necessarily go to the nitty gritty and they say, look, I'm looking for a new role in X. Can you help me? And I go, literally takes me 10 seconds. I'm so sorry. That's not what I do, but I'm going to signpost you to so-and-so. It took me 10 seconds and I'm passing them on. And what I'm doing is I'm passing them on saying, you go and speak to that person. I don't know. I don't want a referral fee for it. I'm doing it because I want to help that person. It took me 10 seconds. Now, if I added that up, what's that? 2 minutes of my week? But how many people then from that are going to go and do something positive? That's so important.
And I'll tell you why also, if I may, in that first bit you discussed with me, to a degree, as a candidate, sometimes you feel like cattle being prodded around. Right. I'll be blunt, sometimes it feels like the only value you've got is for someone's commission.
Yeah.
And I recognise that, right? I recognise that's the job, but I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel like there's some compassion because you're dealing with a human being, and a very important part of their life, a job decision, a career decision.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't feel that. And I've had occasionally someone go above and beyond, right, and take that time to feedback and give me that feedback, number one, which I valued.
Yes.
And two, to not just ping me, oh yeah, we're not interested, to reach out. I've had a couple even call me and say, look, we thought you're a great candidate, and I just wanted to let you know why we didn't, and boom. It just felt, okay, that's a better way of letting me down some of them feel like an automated electronic system.
Computer says no. Do you know what? Honestly, I've got goosebumps all up and down me because to me, the whole point of this podcast is to create a better industry, to share best practice, and just to remind us all that we're all human beings together. And we've all got different experiences, and this all started in COVID, this podcast, where we're all in the same storm but in different boats and all those analogies. But everything that you've just said there is there but for the grace of God go I. And how many of you listening to this now as recruiters and can hand on heart say you've not stopped sometimes and just gone, what if I was in that position? Stop and think, what if I have a little bit of, objectivity? It will take, and I know we're all very time poor. I'm saying that as exceptionally time poor, single parent, running a full-time business, but I always respond back to every single message I get, even if it's literally, I'm so sorry, I can't help, go and speak to John, I'm really sorry, we don't recruit outside the UK, whatever it is, takes a few minutes of your time. And I promise you it makes an impact. Thank you so much for raising that point. So given that you've gone through, and I know we are going to come on to your new job in a minute, what do you think, if you're listening to this and, there are plenty of recruiters that are still in precarious positions, maybe they're still on part-time furlough, which is fine, but you're actually worried about the security of your job. So you're potentially thinking about becoming a job seeker. What do you think, what would your top tips be to make you stand out as a job seeker?
Sure. So I'll rattle off a few that I did, right? Number one, I treat getting a job as a job.
Right.
I.e., it's not a little thing where you poke at it and you reach out to a couple of recruiters and then sit back and hope. Literally every day, I was working as hard getting a job as I am in a job. It was just on different things, right? So I'm prospecting. So I was looking every recruiter that could have positions for me. I was registering on the relevant sites who would give me alerts to the right positions, LinkedIn and certain recruiter sites,
yep.
And trying to filter it so I didn't get a load of noise, but so I get alerts to go and have a look.
Yep.
And I was reaching out cold. So of about, at the end, I had about 13 different opportunities at different stages.
Right.
At least half of those were self-created by me. Some were from recruiters, some were from headhunters, but at least half I'd reached directly to corporate customers, and several I'd reached out where there was no job advertised, where I thought I've got value here because of specific reasons. It wasn't speculative, I'd like a job, do you have any going? It was, I could add value to you because I can see there is commonality between what I've done before and what you're doing, and something I've read on your blog or on your website. And I think this is there any, and I had several reach back saying, actually, we're just doing our budgets and looking for someone, but they haven't advertised a role yet. I'm trying to get there to be in that discussion before they've advertised a role and they've got 50 CVs. Can I close the sale before they go to market, right? And what I do about it is, how good does your CV look and stand out? Mm-hmm. Number one.
Yeah.
Have other people look at it, and I had several recruiters give me feedback and tune things, which was great because you're blindsided to it, right? Number one. Two, make it look pretty. I used an online website to do that, which had templates and put a nice banner on your picture. So too many I see as a recruiter when I'm recruiting, where it is literally plain white paper and they look exactly the same. Now, I'm not saying put wonderful flowers and animation on it, but there are things you can do to make it more aesthetically pleasing.
Yep.
And templates online that will give you guidance to it. Just search CV template and it'll open your eyes up to it. So I did that.
Good.
I also put references in there. So, if you've got LinkedIn references from people saying you did a fantastic job relevant to the role you're trying to get, you've already got that individual's permission to cut and paste it into your CV because it's on a public website.
Absolutely.
So you don't even need to go and ask someone to do it. If you haven't got them, I'd recommend get them on your LinkedIn profile because it's public and it stays with it forever and a day. But get reference. So because I'm in a sales role, I have in there graphs of performance under a role, achievements with evidential customer names and numbers and customer quotes and employer quotes of what I did that drove an outcome. What am I being judged on in the roles I'm going for? How do I get them to see I'm really strong at the outcome they want for someone in that role? In the CV, rather than just say, here's facts. How do I give evidence? So I did that. And make sure your social, it varies on different jobs. I get that. But if someone is going to consider looking at you on social, LinkedIn, and anywhere, check what you represent online. So firstly, my recommendation would be open an incognito browser. Open a browser you're not logged into. Do it on someone else's PC and search your name in Google. And look on the first 2 or 3 pages and see what comes up that it finds on you, and have a look at what comes up, because a recruiter could do exactly that in seconds. And is there anything there that you wouldn't be proud of, or is, you've got your Facebook profile open security and you've got all your drunk pictures, which is fine, but not for a potential employer to see. Make it private to your friends, take seconds. Look at the photo you use on your profiles. And you can test it on a site I always recommend called photofeeler.com as to which photo gets the best reaction from the first impression from people who don't know you.
Great feedback.
It's all about your personal brand, right? Personal brand is if someone, anywhere anyone can see anything on you, what impression does it give them of you?
Yes, perfect definition. I just want to pick up on a couple of things there. First and foremost, your social media footprint. I mean, my goodness, what you've just said there, of course a recruiter's going to do that. We're going to check out your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, your Clubhouse. If you're on Clubhouse now, we want to see consistency. I'm not so bothered about drunken photos on Facebook. We're not going to judge you for it. But like you say, that's your personal brand. And I also just want to pick up on what you said about LinkedIn endorsements, because I think they are so powerful. But I'm very pleased that you refer to customers, because it shouldn't just be all your colleagues in your team. It should be what do your customers actually say about you? Because for me, if you were pitching to me as a prospect, there isn't a job, but I love that feedback. That's amazingly proactive. You're creating, a need within a business where, like you say, you're not going to be battling against all the other candidates. It's such a brilliant strategy, Ian. And I genuinely think that in most talent short markets, which, let's face it, most are, this is what you should be doing to get yourself that next step. Even if you're not redundant, even if you're not at risk of redundancy or you've been furloughed, if you're doing this for career progression, everything that Ian is saying, you should be thinking about doing. I think it's a brilliant, brilliant piece of advice. So sorry. I
was going to say, if you do it as you go along, it isn't a big job. If you wait till you need to do it, now you've got everything on your plate. So I always, if a customer says, here's the way to do it. If a customer says, well, no, you did a fantastic job, whatever, that's the time to reach them and say, thank you so much, would you do this? And in hearing this, you're thinking, I wish I'd done that. Someone said something to me 3 years ago. Here's what to do. Go back to them now and say, I just listened to a podcast, and do you know what? I learned something, and I should have asked you something, and be totally transparent that you've just learned about this, and you've been making a mistake, and I want to ask you, would you be kind enough to help me? Something I just learned to do. And I've had people on podcasts where I've spoken about this, and they've come back after and said, I've got 4 new references from people that have said it before. I've gone back and they give you it, right? They said it, they meant it.
And you know what, well, I'll offer to give your customer endorsement as well, because it's reciprocal, and because then it's powerful on their profile too. So you're doing something for them. It's an exchange. It's something you're not asking for any money off them. It's just something that will make them feel great. And like you say, it's a point to connect with. So as we conclude what has been a very useful podcast for anybody that's listening, and don't ever assume you're not going to be in this position. And what does the future hold for you? Because you're in this fabulous new role now. You've just been hiring for your team there. So tell us about what the future holds for you.
Yeah, it's a really, really exciting role. We are, in fact, a lot of our customers are recruiters. So we sell to recruiters and help recruitment teams drive productivity and greater outcomes. So all the things you care about, right? The right activity that's gone on, CV sent, number of placements, all this stuff. We help increase those metrics with some pretty simple things. So I'm talking to a lot of recruiters from the other side now on the nature of that, and it's exciting. We've got a new number of team members coming in. Brilliant. And if anyone listening to this, come and have a look at OneUp Sales, and happy to have a conversation if you wish to have an exploratory 30 minutes with me.
Definitely. Well, I will make sure that when we share this, when it goes live, all your connection details will be on there for everybody to see. And it's been an absolute joy to have you on here today. Thank you so much for your support, and good luck with the future, Ian.
Thanks, Alicia. Take care.